Welcome to my in-depth review of the Winspace SLC5. I've built this bike myself. I've been riding it for about 1,000 kilometers in a bunch of different scenarios, and I'm now finally ready to share my thoughts and everything I know, everything I realized about this bike, the good, the bad, the weird, the ugly about it. And I want to be as transparent as possible, and this brings me to my first point here. Winspace did send this bike for free, but I'm really making this video because a lot of you guys asked me questions about this bike. High price point, is it worth it? Is it a good bike? How's the riding? How's the building? So this video is going to be as transparent as possible. I will be mentioning all the drawbacks of this frame so you can make this educated decision to go for it or go for something else in 2026 and moving forward. So the Winspace SLC5 is a direct competitor to your go-to do-it-all bike. Think Specialized SL8, Cannondale Super 6. It's a frame that is sort of aero at the front, sort of light at the back, and is good enough for pretty much every scenario that you need to bring your bike. It's fast on flat grounds and it's light to go uphill. It's that right balance of wherever you're going with your bike, you're not going to be as a disadvantage. Because if you have a fully decked out aero bike, definitely you have this disadvantage uphill, and if you have that super weight winning climbing bike, you definitely have a disadvantage on the flat ground. So this one does it all. I hate that expression, that one bike to do it all, but it is what it is. If you're watching this video, you surely came across already the spec sheet of that bike. This video is not a spec sheet read as maybe other media are doing over on YouTube, but if we just go slightly over the main details, I got my notes here, but 705 grams for the frame, blends of different high modulus carbon. This is very important though, but we got that we're going to dive later, but we got T1100, T800, of course, and M65, M46. 32C of clearance for the tires, BSA bottom bracket. That's also a interesting choice that Winspace did. We got a proprietary seat post that is aero and a size from X small to X large, UDH compatible. That's pretty much your spec sheet read. But now let's address the elephant in the room, the price point of the SLC5. And it was the big and bold title of my unboxing video. You should go check that out. It was a really nice unboxing experience. Winspace did step up their game, of course, with the years. But $2,800 US for that frame set. Usually more like 25 when you put a discount code in there, but 2,500 is way above what I believe the market was ready to accept for a Chinese high-end frame price point. I believe the market sort of accepted that 1,300 to 1,800 price point US dollar when it comes to buying direct from China. And now we see like Chinese brand now evolved to something else that they used to be. Brands are way more expensive than that now, and Winspace with the SLC5 is in that category. They did keep their T1600 price point into that ballpark, 1,500 ballpark, but the SLC5 is on another level. And now it comes to the reason why this frame is so expensive, and it's mainly because of the material used to build it. Usually your run-of-the-mill decent low to mid-end carbon fiber will be Cybrei T800 all the way through. This one has more than that. This one has high modulus T1100 carbon fiber, M46 and M65 carbon fiber sheets. These three different high modulus carbon fiber makes the frame react totally different than your regular T800, and the way that the layup is made drastically changed the proprietary of this frame set. So adding these high modulus carbon fiber does bring the price up. Cybrei 1100 is about 5 times more expensive than Cybrei 800. And when it comes to making the layup, it's just more complicated for the person building your frame because it's not just one material that goes into it. There's 4 now, and they all lay up at a precise location that has been planned and engineered by the R&D team at Winspace. So this frame, of course, if you look at it on the outside, it looks like your regular carbon fiber frame, but on the inside, there's a lot more engineering, a lot more materials, change the way this bike rides. So now let's move on to my experience building this bike here in my garage. So I don't have any B-rolls of me filming building this bike because when I build a bike and I film at the same time, it takes 5 times more time, and I didn't have that time. So building it was extremely straightforward. Of course, it It's always a little bit complicated when it comes to routing the cables through the headset, because this bike, it uses FSA ARC headset. Have your hydraulic cables go one from one side and one from the other. They go around the stereo tube, and then they link up at the front, and they go out from the front of the bike all the way inside of the handlebars. And routing hydraulic hose inside this really tight space with all those little tight turns, it is a little bit difficult. Also, the handlebar, I have the Hyper handlebar. It goes a bit longer at the front of the stem, and it goes a bit more back. Instead of like a 90-degree turn, it's maybe like a 110-degree turn, a bit moving backwards. It needs to do that 110-degree turn from one side, same on the other side. So that was a little bit more challenge. I also built this bike with Shimano 11 speed. I know this whole group set, but I had this Dura-Ace group set laying around from another bike. I took it out and I decided to put it on. The reason why I put this group set as well is I wanted this bike to be as light as possible, and I had a Dura-Ace Di2 group set on hand. If I didn't have that Dura-Ace, I would have probably bought a Shimano 12-speed Ultegra. Also, with the hydro hose, I had the Di2 cable going through, so it did add a little bit of complication, which if you're building this bike 12-speed or SRAM, you're not going to have that additional challenge. But I did have this one issue. I would say I spent, maybe 20-ish minutes trying to fix it, but every time I was pushing my Di2 cable here, it was going up this tube instead of going on the chainstay. Not really sure how I fixed it. There was just a lot of fidgeting around. I tried to use a magnet, was not working. I tried to like pre-bent the cable, was not really working, but at some point I got it. But it was the way that this plays, because it's so small, it was difficult to push a cable. So if you're a SRAM, you're not gonna have that issue, but if you're 12 speed, there is a cable going to your battery. So keep that in mind, that it was a little bit of a challenge. So now let's go over all the components I've used to build this bike and make it as light as it is, because yes, it's a really light climbing / aero bike. When it comes to the wheels, I've built them with Winspace's own brand of wheel. It's called the LUN Hyper D67. So I do have those really deep carbon wheels. I do most of my riding, it's on flat grounds in the fields. There's not much hill where I go on the everyday basis. I've mounted, so those really big wheels make this bike super fast, and I haven't realized any crosswind instability with them. Like, even though there's a lot of wind where we are riding, they're perfectly fine. I do not feel unbalanced or unsafe with those big, deep carbon wheels. When it comes to the tire, they're GP5000 28 mil. Your gold standard in terms of tires. I do not run them tubeless. I have a big monologue about why I don't like tubeless tires anymore. Right now, TPU tubes instead of that. We got an X-Cadey carbon fiber crank, which just had this little touch of premium looking to the bike. And of course, carbon fiber cranks are extremely light. I went with 170 mil. I have another video about 165, why I don't like them on my road bikes. Paired with Cybrei 5438 Nova oversized pulley wheel at the back. We got their brand new model, the CDD full pulley wheel, so slightly more aero as well. We got a BSA bottom bracket from Nova as well. Ceramic bearings. Cassette is 11 to 30 because I have a big plate at the front, so a 30s kind of feel nice. Saddle is a Yoleo. I forgot the name, but it's super light. It's 120 grams for this carbon fiber saddle. Head unit is Kuros. Disc is Dura-Ace. And the total weight is, with pedals, 7 kilos dead on the number. So if I take off the pedals, take off the computer mount, we're looking at a 6.7 kilo bike with deep carbon wheels. So if I put some sort of a climbing wheels on there, like 40 mils, I can bring this total weight without pedals to 6.5. So it is an extremely light bike for that much aero. So the handlebar I've used to build this bike is Winspace's own Hyper handlebar. But what I loved about the Hyper bar is there's a lot of sizes from long to short and wide to narrow. And I went with long and narrow because the way I now ride as these days is mostly flat grounds here near my hometown. So I really wanted that aero gains and aero setup. So that's why I went with the 36 mil handlebar. And the longer stem is because I wanted that short, smaller frame, so it could be a bit more on the snappy side. That handlebar is amazing. It looks good. It's wonderful. I kind of regret going for like that purple-ish looking. Winspace does have a more black one. It would have fit that frame better. Maybe I should also run like this mullet setup with like a 60 something wheel at the front and like a 40 at the back. That could be cool. Maybe something to explore down the road. I also want to mention how I love the design of the seat post when it comes to the system to clamp the saddle. It's a two-bolt system that you can fix from one side and from the other. And what I love about that system is once you put it in place, the failure of your saddle like tilting forward comes down to zero. It's almost impossible for your saddle to move up or down if you hit a pothole or if you fall. When it comes to like system that clamps from the side of your saddle, even though you torque it to spec, there's always this risk of if you have a big impact, your saddle can move up or down. But with this system, it's super slick looking, it's light, and it's reliable. So it's a proven system, and I'm glad Winspace went with that one. Something to keep in mind about this frame set is the mechanism they decide to use to lock your steering from overturning. So you never want your handlebar to rotate too much because it might kink your hydraulic cables inside. It's a little sticker on the fork, and I couldn't understand what it was for. It's a friend who looked at it and told me what was it for. But when there's nothing stopping your steer tube from turning inside of the steer tube, is when it turns, that sticker on the fork, where it's placed exactly, it's going to rub against the frame and lock the steer tube from turning even more. So it's really clever. I'm sure it's for weight saving. And the Winspace did include a lot of additional those little transparent sticker, super subtle. But when it comes to if you have a crash, that impact is high, not do its job, and then your handlebar would oversteer, and then your crash would also damage the hydraulic cable inside of your frame. I don't know, something to keep in mind. All right, let's talk about sizing Winspace or any other Chinese bike. And I'm here with you. I had a lot of questions about it. It is difficult to size your next frame from China. Medium frame from a US brand is not a medium frame from a Chinese brand. Everyone sort of have their different threshold when it comes to sizing a bike. And the best tip or advice I can give you is look at two things. Look first at your reach or your top tube length, but I like to go with the reach because the reach is about it starts with the bottom bracket, which is a constant throughout the bike. If you go with the top tube length and you have a bike that has a lot of back sloping, it's going to make a longer top tube. So that's not really a measure that you should 100% trust, but the reach always start from the bottom bracket all the way to the steer tube. Check what's your current reach on your bike. You add the size of your stem, and you just reverse math and try to find your size. When it comes to my Winspace, I did size down the frame and I did went longer with the stem. So my size is a small. So I'm usually always a small when it comes to North American brands. I could be a medium with Winspace, but I still went with a small because the Hyper handlebar was available in 125 mil stem. And I really, really wanted a super long stem for a few reasons. And we're going to get back to that later into the right field. And I am 5'6", which is 168 centimeter. But this bike is slightly, I would say, on the shorter end. So I maybe should or could have went with the medium frame with 115 stem. That would have maybe made a better feeling. One of the downside I could say of going with maybe a shorter or smaller frame is most of your weight will be more on top of the steer tube rather than behind the steer tube. And what does that do? Even though I have a long stem to compensate, it sort of make the bike slightly twitchy. If I go in a straight line and I don't think about it, the bike might go a little bit from left to right. It's really minimal, but something to keep in mind. But on the other hand, this twitchiness or this reactiveness is giving me more the ability to change direction in a split second to avoid a crash or to make a move. So I'm okay with that because that longer stem give more stability, and that shorter bike frame makes it more snappy. So I found like this right balance of twitchiness and stability. I'm with you. Sizing your next bike is difficult. It can be a very expensive mistake. Do a pre-bike purchase bike fit. Your physio is going to give you all the numbers that you need so you can make sure that you don't mess it up. So I had this question over my Instagram, which I thought was quite important to answer in this video, is why did Winspace went with BSA 68mm bottom bracket standard over the brand new flashy T47 standard that we start seeing in more and more bikes? And I don't have any definite answer from Winspace, but I do have two hypotheses about it. Is first one, well, this bike was already quite expensive to build and make with all this high modulus carbon fiber, and having a T47 is added complexity when it comes to building and making a frame set. So did they realize that this frame would all be too or on the high end expensive, and they want to bring that cost, that fabrication cost down? Could be an answer. I don't have that definite. But the second reason, which kind of makes more sense, I believe, is BSA is a proven, reliable legacy bottom bracket standard that is good enough, and there's maybe not much reason to change it. It's threaded, it's serviceable, spare parts are cheaper, easier to find, so that's maybe why they went with it. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I like it. Now I'm going to answer the most important question you guys have been waiting for in this long-term review of the Winspace SLC5. How does it ride? Is it a good bike? Is it a fast bike? Is it a slow bike? Are you going to be a faster cyclist? Is this the best bike in the world? So I'm going to try to explain a feeling, or at least describe a feeling the most objective way as possible, which is difficult on a review like this. There's this one constant that has been across almost every ride of this bike. Hang on here, wait for my explanation. Is this bike feels 7 kilometers slower. I'm going to repeat that. This bike feels 7 kilometers slower than it actually goes. So what I mean by that is, and it happened on almost every fast group rides, is every time I was in the pack feeling, why are the guys going so slow at the front? What's going on? Why the guys are not pulling as hard as they usually do? And then I was looking down at my speed. I was like, oh, we're actually going 45. We're going fast. But I had this feeling that we were going 38. Same thing when it came to a bit more of a chit chat ride with a friend. I was like, damn, why are we not like pushing a bit harder? I feel like we're going slow. I look down at the GPS. We're already going 38. And I've ridden a lot of bikes in my life. You can tell the speed you are going without looking at the GPS or with your eyes closed, just by the feeling, by the vibration of the road. This bike, even though I have the same tires and I've used these wheels and these tires on other bikes, this bike reacts different to the road, and it do dampen vibration a way that I've never seen before. There's a few factors for that. First one is the high modulus carbon fiber used for this frame, the M46 carbon fiber. When you look at the description, balance, stiffness, and compliance, some comfort / flex. Now that I'm riding this bike, and it always feels slower than it is because it dampens vibration more than other bikes. So the feeling I have of going slower is just a recalibration of my perspective of speed. Wow, that's well said, Charles. Wow, for a second language, English. So is it a good thing or a bad thing? I believe it's a really, really good thing for your endurance rider. I did feel less fatigue on this bike. I did feel less vibration, less bumps. Every cracks and potholes are absorbed in a way that differently from other bikes. And I would say this is the biggest selling point of this bike, is the comfort that it gives you just because of the layup. Now, after riding a bike that has a much different layup, I can feel the difference from the Tevelo. This bike is much more comfortable than the Tevelo, much more comfortable than my Felt AR road bike. Surely it is, I would say it is as comfortable as my Felt VR, which is an endurance bike that has zero race geometry. But this bike has a race geometry with compliance that does give you comfort. So now you're not really leaning towards bigger tire and lower pressure to have your comforts. You have that built in with your frame set, so you can run faster tire that doesn't require as much comfort. So if you have a really stiff frame, uncomfortable frame, you would need to rely on your tires to add you comfort, and that tire that you pick might not be the fastest option. But now if I put a 28, super fast, super aero, fits perfectly with the rim that I have, and I have a frame that absorbs vibration in a way that increases comfort. And that second big advantage of going with those high modulus carbon fiber is the stiffness to weight ratio is unbeatable. It's so reactive, it's snappy as well. Terms like, for sure those terms are plastered all over the internet with every bike, but I did feel it being quite nice under a big load. I had a friend who's a sprinter who did put about like 1500 watts into this bike, and he was impressed with how it reacted, even though this frame was like 3 sizes too small for him, but he did enjoy a few sprints on it. So overall, this bike checks 3 big boxes for me. It's light at 6.8 kilo with deep carbon wheels. It's compliant. It was super comfortable on our really bad roads that we have in Quebec. Usually like the road pavement is bad. Vibration is usually always high. We're used to it and we have to put bigger tires. But now that the way this frame reacts, I can keep the fast tires, or I can, if I put those comfy tires, this makes this bike just like an endurance bike, but with a race geometry that I love and that can be extremely fast in. And this bike sprints well. That stiffness to weight ratio of the frame set just makes it a pleasure to sprint and just go for those town hall sprint against your buddies. Out of the saddle feels extremely great as well when it comes to go uphill. So I don't really see how you can not enjoy riding this bike. To be honest, like the big downside of it would be the price point at $2,500 US, and the brand. They're not your cool big brand name brand out there. And the third one is, again, it's the same question with every Chinese bike, is what happened when it comes to warranty. So Winspace does have offices, not offices, but does have like reps all over the world, especially here in Canada. There is that winspace.ca, and there's a guy there who's probably going to be your contact point when it comes to if there is a defect or if there's a problem, or if you need a warranty replacement and all of that. So, but that's still always a question. You cannot just walk inside your bike shop and fix your frame issue. I mean, does it still happen, defects on those bikes when it comes to high-end bikes? I don't know. The customer support, they're probably not going to be native English speaker. It might take a bit longer, or it might be a bit more difficult. Who is the SLC5 for? And I give this question a lot of thoughts. First of all, I would, if you're a crit racer that only does crits, I would rule that out. I believe it's maybe too much of an expensive frame to risk crashing it into a crit. Plus, it's not a full-on aero bike, and the added comfort or of the high modulus carbon and the geometry is not really what you're looking for a crit. I would maybe go for a T1600 for that, or it's going to be quite less expensive and you don't need that comfort. But if you're doing constantly 2, 3, 4, 5 hour rides, you're riding fast in group rides, you're pulling turns with the boys or the girls, you're traveling to climb the Alps, Mallorca, Spain, dream cycling location, this bike, if you put maybe smaller wheels and big, it's going to be a really wonderful ride. It's fast enough for any fast group rides in your area. It's good looking enough for flexing at the cafe. It's light enough that everyone's going to be taking that bike up in the air and be like, damn. But I do believe the value of this frame is definitely not into the brand's name. I mean, yes, it's light, but it's not like every company can make a light road bike, but it's difficult to make a light road bike that is great to ride. And I believe Winspace just filled that area quite well with a bike that's rides like an aero bike, feels like an endurance bike, that climbs like a climbing bike. That would be a way to describe it. So this brings me to my analysis of the SLC5 against Specialized SL8. Here the pricing are all approximate. I've just took the full retail price with no discount and converted to CAD so we can see a comparison with Tarmac. Look, Tarmac SL8 comp, that's way too expensive for a shitty package. But when you start looking at the Ultegra package for the SL8 Pro and you compare it to the Ultegra Di2 package from Winspace, you save about 3 or 4 grand and you get a much better carbon layup. The SL8 Pro is the exact same frame as the SL8 Comp. It's the 10R modulus from carbon from Specialized, which is like this mid-tier carbon fiber, but the SLC is some high-tier, high modulus carbon fiber, something closer to some S-Work feeling, S-Work level of quality, but for a fraction of the price. If we compare the Dura-Ace package at 9 grand for the Winspace, 18 grand for the S-Work, look, you're getting half price and you're definitely not getting half of the performance. So here's my recommendation. Look, if you got the budget for the S-Work Tarmac SL8, sure, go for it. Great, you're probably a dentist. But if you're thinking of going for the SL8 Comp or Pro, I feel it's a tough sell. With the SLC5, you're getting a much more better package, much more better layup of carbon for a frame set and for cheaper. So sure, okay, I might sound a bit biased here, but if I was in the market to purchase and I had absolutely no affiliation with any brands, I would strongly consider the SLC5 now that I've ridden it. I don't see how the Tarmac SL8 Pro can outshine that bike. That's it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this long form solo podcast talking all about the Winspace SLC5. If you're looking to get in your hands on one, just use my discount code. It's going to help out the channel as well. Hopefully I gave you as much information as needed for you to decide to buy or do not buy this bike. If I am missing anything, please leave a comments down below. I will answer everyone when it comes to this and hopefully help other riders. Thanks for watching. As usual, my name is Charles and I will see you on the road or into the next video. Peace.